Did you know that your reserve loadout doesn't have to be 1 gun and 3 gadgets? You can actually use 4 weapons, or even 4 gadgets if you want. They just never really tell us about it. Speaking of which, they also never really tell us that heavies can punch while holding their shield up, that jump pads will bounce anything that hits them, including grenades and even RPGs. And these are just some of the 47 things that you don't know about the finals. If there is anything you ended up actually knowing beforehand in this video, you can always let me know in the comments. But anyways, let's get started. It's also never really explicitly stated that you can break walls or floors with just about anything in the game. Sure, explosives make sense because, obviously, but you can actually break buildings with gunshots or even melee as well, it just takes really long. So the same obviously goes for the cranes that you can find all over the map. Actually, not many notice, but if you're a bad crane operator, you can even destroy your own crane by user error as well. If you end up using all the bullets in your weapon, you'll be forced to pull off a cocking animation by the time you reload, which isn't ideal because in most cases, you'll need to shoot now, because otherwise why would you let the magazine go all the way to the bottom in the first place? Nevertheless, if you get hit by this animation, keep an eye on your bottom right, and as soon as the ammo counter resets, quickly swap between a gadget and back to skip that very animation. These lights on Monaco look strangely familiar, but I really can't put my finger on why. You can punch your own or even your teammate's C4, which makes it blow up instantly and take out anyone who's close enough. And unlike when it's activated by a heavy, this will include you and your teammates. This means that if you're trying to punch your way through windows when holding a nuke, that will more often than not have devastating effects. You can safely break a window by dropping whatever you are holding so it passes through the window, after which you can pick it back up and keep on trucking. The vault can one-shot most trees if you throw it into them. If you open a door by sprinting into it, there's a small chance you'll hear a chicken cluck sound effect. This is a reference from the Battlefield franchise, as many ex-DICE developers have worked on the finals. Something else most people don't know is that I stream almost every day on YouTube or twitch.tv/Ottr, so come say hi if you want to see all of this in action. Stealing a vault takes 5 seconds. And while yes, you can destroy ziplines by breaking their attachment points, by punching or shooting or even blowing them up, you can destroy vertical ziplines by blowing up the bottom as well. If you play light, there's a really cool button when you get close to a teammate's statue. If you hold the interact key for a few seconds, you will actually revive them and bring them back into the game. Despite being absolutely tiny, both medium and heavy builds can get through these tiny windows on Monaco. Just climb up on a windowsill and look to the side, kind of wiggle around as you're moving through the window, and eventually you will get through. Or just blow it up, I guess. If you're in the finals of a ranked tournament and both of the teams have captured the point once, if you let the timer go down to 0, whichever team that shows as the number 1 in the top left will be crowned the victor. You can destroy Heavy's dome by punching the small device in the middle twice. This includes your own dome, friendly Heavy domes, or even enemy domes as well. The Golden Watch skin shows the same real time as the time on your computer, or I guess console, but that is obviously not as cool as the rarest skin in the game, which I will tell you about later in the video, and trust me, it's not what you think. On the Monaco map, you can actually fire the cannons. In some cases, they point towards buildings, which will blow them up. Throwing an object deals 50 damage when it hits an enemy, which means that in theory, you could use this to kill someone. If you go into spectator mode on Las Vegas and peep outside of the map, you can actually see the Las Vegas sphere in the far background, advertising the finals. But what I want to know is, when are we getting this in real life? The dome shield blocks enemy heal beams, and like with the mesh shield, it will block and actually repel any explosives like grenades or C4 that tries to pass through it. If these explosive charges are attached to an object, like a barrel, so a nuke, the charges will just despawn. Enemy pings not only work through visual obstacles like bushes, but if you manage to ping an enemy through that obstacle, it will keep tracking their position for a little while afterwards. This means that if you're playing around any area with tons of trees that block your line of sight, you can just spam your ping into the foliage and tag an enemy if you get close enough. Enemies will spawn closer to the cash out if the cash out is started, so it's oftentimes smarter to wait for your enemy team to spawn before putting it in to force them to run as far as possible to actually get to the point. This makes the most sense if you're playing a final. If you get a kill with this M11 skin, it will print a receipt with the enemy's name on it. Heavy can hold the mesh shield up as he's taking the zipline, which keeps the Heavy and their teammates safe. That's because the mesh shield is a one-handed ability. Just like taking ziplines, you can also slide with your shield up, or even mantle and climb any ledge while still keeping that shield up. Another great example of what you can do with one hand is hitting the like button on this video. On the Las Vegas map, if you get close enough to the dumpsters, you'll see that there are flies swarming around the trash. If you get closer, you will notice that these are in fact not flies, but small dollar signs with wings. Fun Fun fact, they are the very same illustration that you'll see on the Easy Come, Easy Go emoticon. If you are holding an object, like say a nuke, you don't have to drop it to start a revive or go for a cash out steal, though it is highly recommended. At the time of this video, using throwing knives when airborne will make you miss. Nukes have appeared in almost every trailer in the game so far, so there isn't much of a reason to believe that they'll be gone anytime soon. You can move the cash out away from its spawn points by placing a jump pad on a slight angle, most easily with goo, and then placing goo under the cash out box to boop it into the jump pad, which then would send it somewhere else. A backstab with the assassin's dagger will one-shot a light and a medium, but it leaves a heavy with a sliver of health left. As with most abilities in the game, you can add in a punch the moment you made damage to finish the heavy off just as fast as any other class. You will go farther horizontally when taking a jump pad if you run, or run and slide into it. Heavy can knock over a cash out box by punching the top of it, or by throwing the vault on the top side above the cash out's vault slot. Melee weapons don't deal damage to the target you're aiming at after the animation is finished. They actually deal damage to anything that's inside of a hitbox in front of your character during that animation. It will also start dealing damage sooner from the left or from the right of that hitbox, depending on what side your character swings their melee weapon from. The damage on explosive mines stacks. So even though one mine, which deals 140 damage, won't be enough to kill a light, you can just put two mines on top of each other instead, which will not only one-shot a light, but a medium as well. And that's because explosions will set off enemy explosive utilities within its splash damage range and create a chain effect. So you can add as many explosives from your entire team as you want to hit an unsuspecting enemy with the biggest mine ever. If you hold the frag grenade in your hand before you throw it, you'll see a visual trajectory of the path that it will travel. Unlike other grenades in the game, the frag grenade will actually explode right at the end of this visual trajectory. Also, quickly mentioning this for the many that somehow still don't know, there's an underhand throw in the game, which is faster and shorter range. Just hit your secondary fire key when holding a grenade to use it. You can place mediums jump pads on walls and even block doorways and windows if you place them the right way, right next to the opening. If you have two mediums on the same team and both are using the healing beam, the healing effect will actually stack for twice the heals per second. Speaking of the healing beam heals at the same rate as the damage of gas. During the alien invasion event, you can actually destroy the alien UFOs. Just keep shooting at them, shooting explosives like an RPG or a grenade launcher at them, or just throw red canisters at them and eventually they'll also go down. Goo grenades and goo canisters can be thrown against walls to create a quick bridge that you can run across. You can use this same very mechanic to patch holes in walls and, most importantly, floors by throwing the goo grenade where to hit the inner edge of the hole in the floor or, wall. The finals, just like many games such as Apex Legends, has a built-in mechanic called recoil smoothing. This mechanic makes it so as long as you're smoothly pulling your aim in one direction past a certain speed, you will get rid of most, if not all, vertical recoil, and you'll only need to compensate for the horizontal recoil instead. The faster you move your aim, the more recoil is removed. I'll be going more in-depth on that in a later video, so make sure that you have subscribed so you don't miss it. And of course, as I promised, I almost forgot mentioning, this is definitely the rarest skin in the finals, and it's only available to 0.01% of its player base. The Diamond M11 skin was rewarded to players who reached Diamond in closed beta 1, meaning that out of the game's over 10 million player base, it's only been rewarded to less than 480 people, which is pretty damn cool if you ask me. And those were 47 things that you didn't know about the finals. If there's more knowledge that you want to share, let us know in the comments. Check out the video on the screen for more finals content, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.